supposed to feel.
The engines roar in the background. The sun begins to set. The green flag flies, and we are racing here in very, very sketchy indeed contact. And there goes Valentin barriers. Oh, the leader's lost it. Noah Ader loses it into the gravel at the final corner. Loses it. That's an amazing bit of work there from Luke Harrison.
Inside we have three abreast heading into Brual.
It's been lights to flag victory for George Boothby. He's done everything that's been required. It's looked so bloody easy yet again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Genisus Extreme YouTube channel for round 10 of season 3 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship. We are into the business end of the proceedings. We head off to Belgium tonight for Spa-Francorchamps in what could be one of the most crucial and anticipated rounds of the championship so far. George Boothby has a very slender lead as we come into the final 3 rounds here. We'll talk a little bit more about that very, very shortly. But as I said, it's off to the hills of Belgium for the last of the 3 rounds. You can see the calendar here. We've got Spa, Watkins Glen, where we're off to America, and then the big bad Nürburgring Nordschleife to end things off. That is going to end the season absolutely with a bang. You can damn well guarantee it. But on top of that, we have a rather tasty prize pool, $1,250 spread across the top 5 drivers. For instance, $530 for your winning championship driver, 3 months Coach Dave Delta sub, and some IMB gloves as well. And then the runner-up getting $325 plus the sub, plus the IMB socks and keyrings. So plenty to play for here in season 3, and a huge thank you to our commercial partners at IMB Racewear and Coach Dave Delta for making that happen. We are always very much appreciative of that. But in the meantime, while we checked out the calendar, we checked out the prizes, all we've got left to do is to talk about last week. And oh my goodness me, it was a busy 90 minutes of Monza. Chaos ensued as always at Monza. Let's go check it out.
And apologies, it looks like we don't quite have the pictures yet, but as soon as we get them, we'll bring them up for you. So I'll go through it verbally for you. And Malinowski is going to be starting on the pole with Amadeo Castorino starting in 2nd position. George Boothby will start from P3. And Barrier could pick up a number of spots here as Hanzik is once again looking for it. 3 wide, De La Rosa, but that was a mistake. Look at Valentin picking his pocket, and he charges through. In fact, Moberg now is going to get involved in this one as they all head into the Lesmos here from Tobias. He gets the inside of the second one, but just barely at all, shoving him off. Duvalar absolutely rudely moved into the gravel. It looks like Barkhausen is going to cover the inside into the chicane, but he is not deep enough onto the brakes. Wonderful move from Zach. Oh, but he gets turned, and both of them are going to fall by the wayside as Zimbel is the one that gets both spots in a single corner.
It's that Lambo giving a little bit of a boost there to Zach Dorn, trying to help him round the outside there. Zimbel, that's a big moment there onto the brakes, and Zach Dorn straight lining the chicane there. I'm watching this fight here, Joe, with 3rd, 4th and 5th position here, and you get the feeling something's got to give, because here comes Caracas up the inside into the Parabolica, and that's also going to be Jonathan Riley. You're joking me. There's no way he's just given up 2 positions just like that.
Well, let's just kind of sit in, see what kind of fuel I can save from here, and see how it plays out in the pit stops, as that was a bit deep for Caracas, and that is going to cause him a bad exit out of the chicane. Jonathan Riley now moves himself back up into the 3rd position. He is a lot tighter to the inside, and while he is putting more scrub on the tires, it's a shorter distance, and Jonathan is being overtaken without the slipstream. That is an absolute shocker. Grantis Caracas moves himself onto the podium. You know, your pit stop. Well, looks like we're going to see Caracas try to nail George Boothby for that 4th position. And he's going to be just slightly ahead as they come down into the braking. Wow, that was a late move and very risky from Grantis. Thankfully, George did not run into the back of him, but moving under braking, that's a bit of a no-no. Zimbol going to try and get it back. I was going to say there's no room there. Coming down in it, almost wheels in the grass under braking. Is he actually going to make the corner? Sends it in without any reservation, and it's not going to get him the spot. But he has my admiration for managing to woe that car up. My goodness. Zimbol was trying to capitalize on it, but just wasn't close enough. That's what we mean about drivers needing to be close enough to try and do something with those mistakes. Oh, way too much curb, bounds 4 wheels into the air, and Zimbol thankfully does not send it into the wall. It definitely is. And coming down into the braking zone. Oh, yeah, look at him. He's going to box him in. He's going to try to. They make contact and just going to make it 3 wide. Honzik gets shoved off. He becomes a bowling ball and runs into his fellow Aston Martin. That was the number 10. Was that another lapped car? Yes, that was Louis Alexander. And we have to remember, he's got that 10-second penalty. Duvalar behind him. Oh, is he going to be able to overtake him here? Oh, he gets down to the inside. Bischoff. I wonder, with him knowing he's got that penalty, is he just not going to fight this one? Yeah, he'll just slot back into line, and he had the pace. I don't think we saw a single mistake out of this Porsche, and Malinowski will win at Monza.
Casarino and Riley, very well deserved 2nd and 3rd position as well there, Joe. All credit to them.
Riley's not going to get 3rd. Caracas is in front of him. What has happened here? Grantis has moved in front of him, and he is promoted onto the podium. Riley, in the last moments, has lost this podium. His last lap, a 51.3. Maciej
Malinowski there making big inroads towards the end of the championship, bringing him back well and truly into contention here for the final 3 rounds. So, big change for tonight. Out goes a very missed Joe Peak. We have a super sub in the form of the man, the myth, the legends, young Jake Sparey coming to join us tonight. Jake, good evening. How are you doing?
Well, this is going to be something that I think is quite incredible. You've got 3 rounds left of a championship, which has split the top 3 by just 15 points out there. Nobody has been able to get a true stranglehold over the course of this season. And when you consider that it's 6 points between 1st and 2nd, George Boothby's consistency right now, he is hanging on by a thread against Amedeo Castorino. And then, of course, with the victory last time out from Maciej Malinowski, this is going to be him making his statement to try and get back into the championship. Top 3 each have 2 wins apiece, and then you got Mr. Consistency and Grantes Caracas, who's got himself a full 5 podiums this season without a race victory. I'll tell you what, we're in for a treat here, and this rundown, you've got arguably the greatest all-around circuit in the world where we're at tonight here in Spa. We've got arguably the greatest, I would say, slipstreaming circuit in the world in Watkins Glen. And then you've got the longest, most difficult challenge in the Greenhouse to finish the championship. I think we're in for a treat to see how this ends up.
Absolutely. I think we're in for tears, tantrums and tiaras at Nürburgring. 306 points left on offer over the course of the championship, of course, with those drop rounds coming into effect as well. But in the meantime, then, we've talked about the standings, we've talked about the calendar and everything coming up. In the meantime, though, let's go and have a look at where we are tonight here at Spa-Francorchamps and go and check out our track guide. So here we go then. This is absolutely ideal for these GT3 machines. One of the most famous circuits in the world for GT3 racing. And it all starts here on the run down to La Source. Turn number 1, braking just before the 100 metre board on the left hand side. Pull that car into the curbing on the right hand side. You can use a little bit of the curbing on the left hand side as well. Do not let those 2 wheels go over the left hand side though, otherwise it will destabilise the car. It's all about the run down through Eau Rouge and then up through Radion. Again, whipping it over at the left-hand side so you get a nice, smooth run up through Radion. You can use plenty of room on the left-hand side there, much more than you would think, and the game will not penalise you at all. Round the Kemmel Straight then, and on to the brakes very, very shortly on the 100-metre boards. And then it is just going to be into Les Combes as well. You can see there, just before the curbing starts, again, be nice and smooth on the entry. This is where I get it wrong. Much more intensive there on the left-hand side curb of Les Combes there through Malmedy, and then it's down on the brakes again into Bruel again just before that curbing starts there, keeping the car to the left-hand side there, down through the gears. You put it in second, putting it down into first will over-rotate the car and you will lose a lot of time. Again, sweeping it over to the right-hand side, letting the momentum and the inertia get that car do all the work for you. Just dabbing on the brakes, using the weight of the car to pull itself around there, and again you can just be flat on the throttle as we head down through Speaker's Corner into Double Gauche. Then again on the brakes there, you're pretty much halfway between the curbing and the start to the corner here. Let the car just drift around here. Now you can find some corners, some laps you'll be up a tenth, some laps you'll be down a tenth at this corner. It's very much as it comes here, and yet again it seems to be the key here, just before that curbing starts there, just gently riding the brakes here. You don't want to jab on the brakes, you don't want to fire on the brakes, and you don't want to be too fast onto the throttle either. You want to be nice and smooth coming round this circuit. Through Lefania then, as we go into Campus. Now again, the mistake I make there, too deep into that corner and clipping the curb on the inside, that'll unsettle the car. Same through here into Campus and into Stavolo as we go through into the Curb Paul Frere. This is a bit of a chance to get a breather here. This is a nice easy moment here, but this is when you have to be on your guard as well. You're going to have cars trying to slipstream you through here, coming through Blanchemont. Absolutely no issues. If you've got a good setup, you can just hammer that straight through here, and you'll be going slightly after the 150 metre board, which shows I'm braking way too early because I'm always just after that line here. Pull the car in, into first gear very, very slightly, but then straight into second. If you keep it in first, the car will over-rotate and will likely spin you out of that final corner. And that makes it look very, very easy here, Jake. But again, getting a fast, consistent qualifying lap here is very, very difficult indeed.
Well, this is a circuit that comprises of two different types of mentality. Do you want sectors 1 and 3 in your back pocket to be easy, or do you want sector 2 to be the easiest sector out there? That's the aim of the game, because that technical middle sector, a little bit more stop-start, more reliant on the downforce here in this GT3 category machine. That's going to be what's worth keeping in mind. But those who are the straight line merchants are going to definitely love having a turn of pace to go and get their times going. 12.5 minutes here in qualifying as we focus on the Veloce 2024 car of Jaroslav Honzik right now, cresting up the rise and rushing up the Kemmel Straight. This is where his Aston Martin needs to wake up, and he's got a lovely bit of toe to go and work with. And this is what you're going to see quite consistently here with 33 drivers here today. Drivers here, David, are going to be struggling to make sure they've got a little bit of space out on track. Clear road for the winner last time out, Maciej Malinowski. He's going to hope his 992 machine is going to pilot to success, of course, in a Porsche 992.
I do fancy that Aston Martin there of Jaroslav Honzik there. You see the straight line speed being an absolute boon on that Aston Martin. I think that's going to come into its own tonight, especially around the Kemmel Straight and through Blanchemont as well. Whether or not he can actually get that hooked up is yet to be seen, because we've seen usually outside the top 8, usually outside the top 10 for Jardier. But again, if you're brand new to this championship here, given that this runs on the LFM bot system, this is widely used as the quintessential, the warm-up race for LFM Pro on a Thursday night. This is the litmus test, if you will, for all of these drivers. And again, what you can expect here from qualifying, at least 25 drivers, at the very least 25 drivers separated by less than a second. It's what we've had all the way through the season here. So we're watching Mikhail Statsenko there in the 144 Ferrari making his way around. So again, with this first lap coming in here, it looks like this is our first real sort of qualifying lap that we've got going in here. And I would imagine coming up to the end of the season here, Jake, now, especially if you're one of those top 6 contenders for the championship now, you absolutely must be in that top 5.
Listen, it's 102 points for a race win, so you are never truly out of the championship. You can definitely say that the top 6 in the championship are all within range and can prove what they've got as we watch Mikhail Statsenko looking to try and make a run for the Scuderia Ferrari esports team over towards this final chicane out there, which does tip this circuit out of FIA Grade 1 status because it is 7 kilometres and 4 metres out there. This is a circuit that, of course, has to be under 7 kilometres to effectively get an FIA Grade 1 licence out there. But we are seeing those times coming in, and I would say, yes, you've got to be within 100 points. That's going to give you an opportunity to battle. But on top of that, with Amedeo Casarino up on top at the moment, you can talk about those 2 drop rounds that are coming in, and every driver inside of the top 6 in the championship, David, have used both their drops, and they have all featured results outside of the top 10, which means just a top 10 finish is an improvement on what they've got points-wise.
Exactly, and it's where that consistency comes in towards the end of the season. This is what is going to make champions. You've got to feel towards the end of it, but we're starting to see the times coming in just now. 2:15.7 for Amedeo Casarino is your pole time at the moment. Now, ironically, I was in ACC last night in Spa, and I feel absolutely depressed at the times I was able to put in. I was around about a good 7 seconds slower for my qualifying time than some of our esports professionals here. I think I'm going to have to, Jake, throw in the towel here. I think the dream is dead. I don't think we're going to be seeing me as an esports pro anytime soon here.
What's the phrase? Those who can't race decide to commentate, is it?
Yeah. Those who can do, those who can't teach. Yeah, that's. There we go. What can I say on that one? But yeah, nonetheless, it does give you an increased appreciation for the amount of work that these drivers are able to do, because it's very well, it's all fine and well here, being able to put in a fast lap here, but the point of them is they can do these fast laps consistently, time and time again. We've got a new pole sitter, Maciej Malinowski, in pole then, 2:15.420. We now have, 13 drivers within that 1 second mark, and it's come down very, very quickly. Marco Bischoff up to P2 with a 2:15.16. But again, it's only going to be the sort of 3-4 minute mark to go here, Jake, where we're really going to get an idea of how fast these times come down. I've got no doubt we might even creep into the 2:14s.
Look, these tyres do need to get up to temperature. It does take 2-3 laps to try and get yourself there. And I would say with a longer lap like this as well here, David, I'd expect that drivers on lap 3 rather than lap 4 are going to find that pace. They're going to find that the tyres are going to wear off a little bit quicker in terms of what they're expecting. And especially here with Marco Bischoff jumping up into second position. Team Nitro looking quite good, of course, with Noah Adair in 6th as well. So there are definitely times out there. You definitely can find some pace. But here's the shock of the moment in qualifying. George Boothie's down in 10th at the moment. Bischoff will pull the car off with 7 minutes to go in qualifying. But George Boothie down in 10th. That is not where he's expecting to be right now. Last thing he wants to do is have a lot of work to do over an hour to try and chase this down. Someone like Amedeo Casarino is going to relish the opportunity right now. But when you look at qualifying and the way it stacks up, this looks like McLaren's might have an advantage here today. There are 5 of them inside the top 9.
Yeah, absolutely. It does look like they have got a little bit of the odds in their favour just now. But again, we could see just a little bit of an improvement from those Ferraris and kind of knock that out of kilter a little bit. Now, talking of the top 10 and one of the McLarens, Noah Eder, the number 46. Now, he's gotten himself into a little bit of trouble here because he was given a quali ban in the ring briefing and in the server beforehand due to an incident in the last race here. Now, he knew this, he was aware of this, he still set a time here, So this now means that quali ban will be translated into a drive-through penalty. So Noah Ader's race already handicapped before it even begins here, Jake. That is that's unfortunate, but also maybe kind of need to be paying attention a little bit more.
You say unfortunate, I say expected. It's the sort of thing where if you've got race control and they're trying to do a job as Castorino, puts it on the front row, 7,000s clear of Bischoff. But if you have race control, first thing you've got to do is listen to race control. If you've got a qualifying ban, you have to respect what the steward's doing, because this is a series which prides itself on being the pinnacle of sim racing. It prides itself on making sure that all the racing that we've got here is clean and is fair. And if you don't listen to that, then I would say that it's not being quite fair what's going on right here, and a drive-through penalty is all but determined. It's just a case of, you know, you look at the lesser of two evils, starting from the back, you can trip up over a first lap incident, or lesser of two evils, build a margin drive-through penalty, you still have a chance to be ahead of some drivers who have gone out in the early stages. That's probably where Adair's head at.
I think you're absolutely spot on that one. Just to bring you up to speed as well, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you watching on YouTube, you can take part in tonight's viewer giveaway. All you have to do is type in the word SPA in the chat. Let's type in the word SPA in the chat, and you can get yourself in with a chance to be on our wheel at the end to win a $10 Steam voucher, as well as one of our drivers tonight will be winning a 1-month subscription to Coach Dave Delta. So keep tuned for that one. But 4 minutes left to go in qualifying here just now, and as predicted, we're up to about 21 drivers within that 1 second mark of Matthew Malinowski, 2:15.395. Again, you can see just the wide line that he takes there, almost sacrificing that final lap there just to make sure he gets a good exit from that corner to start again and get going again. Now, top 10 then, you've got Malinowski, Castorino, Bischoff, Manson, Rozier, Statsenko, Noah Ader, you've got Lettinen, Lobmeyer. That's an interesting new addition to the top 10 there. Grants Caracas, but again, one person that you were saying conspicuous from that top 10 is George Boothby just now here, Jake. 4/10 of a second, nearly 5/10 of a second off here. I've got no doubt that there'll be another attempt going in here, but I mean, that's a lot of traffic and a lot of points potentially getting hemorrhaged here tonight.
Well, I wouldn't write him off just yet. He still has an opportunity to improve on his qualifying time, and qualifying just gives you the best possible chance for the race. It doesn't guarantee that the race result is going to go a certain way. But for George Boothby, right now, he's on the back of back-to-back fifth-place finishes after having an incredibly quick start to his season. But he will know, just like all the drivers around him, that he is on the absolute limits right now. He even takes out the cone. He wants as much...
There we go.
Tell you what, Malinowski is looking absolutely fantastic. But David, when you consider where George Boothby is right now and what he's got to do, his sectors, he has got to be on it, because he'll have about 10 seconds when he crosses the line, and he will be allowed to finish that second lap. So he's got 2 laps, but he's got to make sure he makes no mistakes on this one. Look at him clatter the curb.
Yeah, and that is it. He is using every single inch of the curve to try and squeeze every 10th of a second out of here. That's the really weird thing about this championship, and what I love about these, run esports events here, is the fact that we say, oh, he's in 12th place, that's, it's a rough place for him. And it's like, it's half a second. I would kill to be half a second off of the leader at this point. But such is the level of competition right now, that's enough to get another 11 cars in there just now. But yeah, a huge thing for him just now. Michael Redford pointing out a brilliant thing here, actually, saying that why would Noah have decided to take the drive-through penalty at Spa of all places? Because obviously it's a huge run that he's going to have to do, and I think Race Control have actually just decided that it's going to be a stop-go 10, given how long that the pit lane is here. They think that would have been too much of a penalty. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. But well, race control are going to do race control.
But it's at their discretion. I would say that this is a circuit where if you just transit down through the pit, it is one of the longest pit lanes that you'll find in the world of racing. Boothby can only get that time up to 11th fastest. He's jumped one place in Adam. So now he'll look Carreras, the guardian of the top 10. Grantas Carreras, the guardian. But you look at this, Boothby in trouble. Malinovsky with a 10th.5 in the back pocket. Out comes the checkered flag, and now everybody's going to be scrambling to hope that their last lap is good enough for them. The only driver who can't improve inside the top 10 right now here, David, is going to be Tommy Rosea, 5th in the championship, 5th on track.
Yep, he is done and dusted into the pit lane. So here comes Maciej Malinowski then, and the word is that this could be what he normally does here. He normally leaves it 2 laps to even the last lap here to absolutely blitz the time. This could be a 2:51, a 2:15.2. Let's see as he goes into that final chicane and through into what they formerly called the bus stop here. Very, very wide there. A little bit of traction lost there. Goes across a minor gain, 2:15.33. So he did lose out on the traction at the end there, but it's enough to improve very, very slightly. So Bischoff is done. Malinowski's done. Rozier's done. So is Sakari Lehtinen. But let's see what Noah Ader can do here, given that he's going to have that stop-go 10-second penalty. He is going to be up next. You've also got the number 18 to come across the line just now. In fact, that's away off into the start-finish line just now. But what can Noah Ader do? He's down in 7th. Currently 4/10 of a second behind. He moves up 2/10 gain for Noah Ader, puts him on the second row of the grid. Here comes Albin Manson. We've also got number 9 Tariq Adam to come across the line. He doesn't improve, so we've got a gaggle of cars here. What can Albin Manson do? Comes across the line, is in 5th position, can't improve there. And Amdeo Casarino, that's our next car that we've got eyes on. After that is going to be the 888 car. But here we go, Casarino comes across the line. Oh my goodness me, so very, very close. Just under 1/10 of a second behind. And George Boothby has given up. George Boothby will not complete his lap there. And here comes your final car, Samir Foch in the Prancing Donkey. Love that team name. 26th position as well, just on the cusp of that 1 second mark. Can we get him into the top 20 for Samir Foch? Out the final corner, across the line, P18. It is indeed in the top 20. My goodness me. Maciej Malinowski then, Jake, taking pole position. A minor improvement on the end there, but yeah, this is going to be a very, very spicy race. As you said there, qualifying is fine, but it doesn't guarantee how you're going to perform in the race.
It really doesn't, but when you look at how in control Maciej Malinowski was the entire way through qualifying, nobody could hold a candle in the win. Amedeo Castorino had to find a time late. It's good enough for the front row, but this is going to be a tough challenge because it will depend, with a field so close like this here, David, it will depend on how close these drivers go in the opening couple of laps. It can be something so easy as following the slipstream. That's all good, but when you have to consider that you got 4th on the grid, Noah Adair is going to have to bring his McLaren 720S GT3 Evo into the pits for a 10-second stop and go. Quite simply put, the drafting characteristics in the opening couple of laps could be irreparable if that disrupts the flow so early on in the race. This is going to be a tough one for someone like, for example, the championship leader.
Yeah, and so much on at stake here. George Boothby starting in that P11, just finishing off on Noah Ader there. Up to P4 then, that stop-go 10-second penalty that was going to be, or sorry, the drive-through penalty that is now a stop-go 10-second penalty, I think is a massive get-out-jail-free card for Noah Ader, because yes, he is going to have to serve that 10 seconds, but he's already in pit lane. He's not going to have to go back down that torturously long pit lane here at Spa. So realistically, I think that may cost him 1 or 2 positions, whereas that drive-through penalty was pretty much a death sentence right at the start of the race, because it would have had to be served within those 3 laps. But we are just moments away from going down to the grid for the start of our race here at Spa. 3 rounds left to go in the championship, season 3 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship. And boy, oh boy, is this shaping up to be a very, very spicy affair there. I think it was around about 22 cars that were separated by a second. But let's go through your grid then. As on row 1, Maciej Malinowski lines up alongside Amadeo Castorino. And then on row 2, Marco Bischoff is going to be alongside Noah Eder with that stop-go 10-second penalty. Team Nitro on row 2 together. Albin Manson leads off row 3 in 5th position alongside Mikhail Statsenko. And then 7th position for Tommy Rozier alongside Sakari Lehtinen in the Honda for 8th position. 9th place is the Porsche of Paul Lobmeyer alongside 10th place is Grantas Caracas in his number 19 Ferrari. Your championship leader, George Boothby, is in the 800 Ferrari. Now, he starts outside the top 10 in 11th position. And alongside him on row 6 is going to be Tariq Adam from Genesis Esports in the number 9 McLaren. Chris Hartfeld is on row 7 alongside Abe Santima. Jaroslav Honzig is in P15. He's in the 39 Aston Martin for Veloce. He'll be alongside Marco Schade in the Get Quick E-Racing 65 Honda for P15 and P16 respectively. Luke Addison starts P17 alongside Samir Foch, the 2 Ferraris alongside each other. Then on row 10 it's Alexander Mayatsin in the 838 McLaren. He'll be alongside Eric Muxka in the Genesis Esports 44 Ferrari. 21st and 22nd is Jan Rochelle and Peter Duvlar. Then on row 12, Finn Zimbel is in 23rd in the 163 in the first of the Lamborghinis for Gladius competitions. Noel Hatchey in 24th position for Genesis Esports in the number 18 McLaren. 25th is the homing missile, Jimmy Holm himself in the Porsche Spinella 777 Lamborghini. Yeah, watch out for him. He'll be chaos as always. Alongside him in 26th position is Kaj Paul in Skidmark Racing 258 Bimmer. And then Lucas Schubeck is on 27th position on row 14 with Visceral Esports number 8 Lamborghini. He's alongside Christian Fenter for Genesis Esports in the number 31 BMW. 29th and 30th is Tobias Muber and Chris Radke. 31st position is Jonathan Clifford in the Alpha Sim Sport Lamborghini. Ronaldo Burzma is in 32nd position in the Genesis Esports number 5 Mercedes. And then Roland Stein at the back of the field in 33rd position in the 22 Ferrari. So the cars making their way round here. I mean, this is going to be one of the most crucial rounds of the championship here. As we said, 306 points still left to go here, but you just get the feeling that, you know, it's more than just points here. It's about putting one hand on that trophy just now here, Jake.
I don't think anybody's going to have a hand, so to speak, on that trophy between now and the end of this season. Very simply put, this is game theory. If you lose points at the beginning of a championship, okay, you still have time to get them back. A bad result here is something that is a lot more difficult to try and repair with how limited there is going to be time to gain those points back that you lose. It's why it's so important. You've got to end your season strong, and you've got to continue finding those consistent finishes out there. George Boothby is going to be crying out for at least a top 5 right now as he's trying to get through. But what I would say at this point, as we do have a driver back in the pits, it looks like that's Hartfeld there, the Ferrari, who's run into troubles then on the outlap. So that's going to be him pretty much dusted off then. And we'll have to start at least from the pits for this start of the race. So that's going to be big. But in terms of those at the front, when your main rivals are 1 and 2, you're only hoping that those drivers have a little bit of trouble from those behind, and the McLarens of Bischoff and Manson need to do a little bit of work to help out the Ferrari of George Boothby.
And of course, that start line is so different. You know, it's a different place to the finish line. We finish at the exit of the chicane, but the start line is after La Source as well. You've no idea how many months of commentating on races it took me to actually learn that lesson here. I'd always get myself psyched up by the chicane and then have to wait until they turn the corner at La Source here. But you're absolutely spot on with that, because obviously Malinowski and Castorino and Bischoff as well, because let's not forget, it's not just about those in P1 and P2. You're going to have Bischoff and Manson and Statsenko and Rozier, who, fancy themselves having a go, who fancy themselves having a little bit of a nibble and maybe a little bit of a gamble here, and it's going to make it very, very difficult for them to do so, although they all know the score. They all know exactly what they can and can't do and what they shouldn't be doing on lap 1. So again, for our brand new viewers here to Sel Corsa Competizione, who are seeing all the cars going through each other, on the warm-up lap, the collision detection isn't turned on until the final little part of the course, where they go side by side and they're instructed to go double file. For the first part, it's free reign. You can do what you like to warm up your tyres and warm up your brakes, so it doesn't look the most realistic when it's on the single file bit then, but it also helps the server stabilise with having all of the cars on the track. And then when they go into the double file, that's when the collision detection does get turned on. That'll be just as they come through Blanchimont. That'll be on the run down to that chicane. You'll suddenly see Amadeo Casarino jump into the other side here, and that'll be on the right hand side as we see it here, because Maciej Malinowski will have that left hand line here. And there we go. They've just been given the order to go into double file. As that is slightly optimistic there from Grants Caracas, obviously wanting to get a little bit of speed in just to pump on the brakes. And what that does is that puts heat into the brakes, that residual heat from the brakes then filters out through the wheel rims and then into the tyres as well. So again, it can help everything get that little bit warm. You want to have the cars as warm as you possibly can. Now, they have to watch out here because the game does penalise for incorrect start procedures. We've also seen another car, Noah Ader, has actually went back to pit lane here. So I'm wondering what has happened there. So he has decided that he is... Okay, well, we're just hearing in the background that it's a bit of command from race control there. So another smack of the wrist there for Noah Ader. But either way, we'll come to that in a second. This is a very, very scrappy start here. A little bit of confusion, obviously, because that car of Noah Ader missing from the line. But either way, round 9 here of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship Season 3. Maciej Malinowski, Amadeo Casarino going to lead the cars down. We go green flag racing. 60 minutes, and Casarino immediately jumps in behind Malinowski there, caught out by the jump as we got 32 cars trying to make their way up through Rajon for the first time, and it does look okay just now, but I get the feeling here, Jake, this is going to be a very, very chaotic start here, because we've got at least 6-7 cars here all baying for blood as they come into Lake Hume.
I'll tell you what, Stetsenko looks fantastic at the moment as he's making his way through. We watch then from the back of Malinowski, who leads this race outright, but look at them scrap up at Malmedy Corner, highest point on the circuit. Castorino follows, and there is Stetsenko. In fact, no, it's Caracas who's got through and has done fantastically. Caracas, what a start from him. And there's George Boothby up too. He'll be happy that he's made some progress, but he's got to find a way now here through Lobmeyer, who's attacking Rosea just in front. So immediately off of this start, drivers pretty much keeping it nice and close quarters, but now the middle set comes into play. Boothby on the wrong side of the road. Watch out, because Lehtinen might want to try and sneak his Honda back down the inside, no dice.
Yeah, it's not going to happen for the Wild Things Honda of Sakari. Lehtinen, and Boothby needs to make a charge up. He's done the good start already. He's got himself up into P9, so that is 2 positions he's gotten there. Now, bear in mind that one of those has been gifted to him from Noah Ader there, but either way, he needs to slowly get himself back up through this pack, and I think that's exactly what he'll be looking to do. The problem you've got now, though, is the fact that Maciej Malinowski now has a hint of fresh air, and from what we've seen in the past here, if he even has a sniff of fresh air, it's going to be a very, very difficult thing holding on to him. Fair enough, for the first 2-3 laps you might be able to do so, but unless you get that moved on, he is going to be away with it, and very, very quickly indeed. To come through into the chicane then for the first time to count off lap number 1 here at Spa in this 60-minute race. It's Malinowski from Castorino, from Bischoff, Caracas in 4th, Stetsenko in 5th position, Albin Manson in 6th, and then you've got Chaos behind Chris Radke in the Ferrari. That looks like a very, very stricken Ferrari there, possibly a little bit of damage. Actually, I think he's okay. It was maybe just a little bit of over eagerness to get back on that circuit, especially with the hill there at that final chicane. As I mentioned on the track guide, if you put it in first, you will almost certainly spin that car, as Finn Simple in the Lamborghini climbing up the hill here. He is down in 19th position, trying to stay onto the back of Abe Santima. We go on board with Eric Muxka here for Genesis Esports in the 44. He's chasing down Abe Santima through the Kemmel Straight. Is this going to be a dive into Lee Coombe? Late onto the brakes there, tries to hold it in, and Santima, well, I'm not sure of that, but great move either way for Muxka, and shows his teammate out into the gravel there.
That was not ideal, because when you get into it, look at the chain reaction this is all causing as these two scrap at 6. Look at the dive back through by Nyatshin, who's made that brilliant attempt, but there at the speaker's corner, straight back on the look is there, and you just have to wake up and look around. Everybody is going to be scrapping here, there and everywhere. Now off the start it was Monson who was the one who went backwards into 6th position. That would have been troublesome off that go, but there is Mikhail Stutsenko, who's hoping to make some progress here on Karekas, the Lithuanian, just in front, and they realise that in these early stages, try and keep things going. And what I am noticing here is that I think Castorino's got a car that's a little bit better set up for the middle sector. He's just taken 2/10 out of Malinowski in his Aston Martin compared to the Porsche, and this might be a game of wait for that one mandatory pit stop. That might be where Castorino's going to have to make his margin pounds.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, the straight line speed of that Aston Martin is its bread and butter. That's where it's going to get all of the jump there, and you can see there that Porsche slow out the final corner there, almost getting jumped on from Castorino. We did see a brief yellow flag coming out there as a car going backwards into double gauche. That was the 77 of Jan Ruchel who brought that one out. I've got no doubt that that might have been a little bit of contact. Actually replace the word might with most definitely a little bit of contact. So we see Paul Lochmeyer in the Porsche, the number 12 Porsche. Now he's fallen away back off that group. Tommy Rozier just in front, but he has got himself up into P7 now. So it's Albin Manson that is about a second up the road here. Here comes Lochmeyer up the hill at Radion, but he's also got George Boothby on his tail, as well as there goes Tommy Rozier. Oh my goodness me, out of the brakes very, very early there at Lake Coombe. He didn't want anything to do on that one as they come through Malmedy here for lap number 3. George Boothby up to P8, and you wouldn't bet him against getting P7 almost immediately.
Well, after P7, then what? Because all of that scrapping between Tommy Rozier and Lobmeyer has basically just meant that the gap's opened up. Now, we talk about 1.5 seconds here is pretty much the rubber band to catch Albin Monson, who is there in 6th position, the Swede. You are asking 1.5 seconds to go through and to try and get that chase. This is going to be a tough order to try and get this all sorted. So when you sit down and understand, hang on a minute, what do you have to try and get right? I would say that this is going to be even tougher for George Boothby.
No, I absolutely agree with you, because once he gets, as you said, once he gets past Rozier, he's got 1.5 seconds to catch up. And what we saw from that qualifying is that he has the pace to be on time with everyone else, but maybe he's not significantly faster than everyone else. So if there's already a gap that opens up, then maybe that might decide to be an issue there. The thing is as well though, is while the top 5 are fighting here, that actually might bring them in, and that's exactly what we're seeing here, because Rozier is actually getting onto the back of these here. It was 1.5, it's now 1.3, and there is Tommy Rozier here, so we are very shortly going to be reunited. I'll tell you what, if those two trains get back together, this is going to be a very, very messy next 15 minutes of the race. Remember, we've got a mandatory pit stop to take in as well. You can see on the left hand side of your screen the timing tower. That orange box with the number 1 in it means that all of the drivers have to fulfill a mandatory pit stop there, and when they've done that pit stop during the pit stop window, which will open in about 12 minutes time, then they will have fulfilled their obligation, and that will turn green, and they'll be absolutely fine to finish off the race. Failure to do that, they'll get a penalty at the end of the race. But here comes Marco Bischoff, so now Castorino dropped off the back end of Maciej Malinowski here, 0.7 of a second. Malinowski's not been able to tear away as much as he'd like to at this early stage here, but what he wants is exactly what we're seeing here. He wants Bischoff and Caracas and Statsenko to make life hell for Castorino, to drag that Aston Martin backwards, but it's not quite happening just yet as we've got a yellow flag. That is the number 22 that's had a big moment on the top of Radion and Eau Rouge. That's Roland Stein that's brought out that one. It's Marco Bischoff under big pressure as well here from Grandes Caracas. So it's like an accordion. At one part of the track, it's Castorino that's under pressure, and now towards the second half, it's Bischoff that's under pressure.
Look, if you go too aggressive in a certain phase, which we've seen there from Marco Bischoff, it's so easy to overextend, and that leads Caracas and Statsenko, the two red Ferraris, waiting for that opportunity to try and pounce and find a way through as early as an opportunity presents. So when you've got the opportunity there, which is sat up by Caracas, which is sat up by Statsenko, they both want to work out what's the way we get past this McLaren. The answer is you're going to have to strike while the iron's hot, and I think this iron is piping, because look at the way Caracas follows here through Blanchimont Corner. He'll have to go the long way around, or maybe even set up Statsenko for the inside. Long road around. Have you got room? Open it up, praise the door open, and there is not much that you can do if you're Marco Bischoff. Does everything try and hold that line, and look at a bump drafting from the Ferraris, trying to push Caracas through in the on-camber opening corner here of the Lassour's hairpin. Up and under attempt comes back through. Look at the time it's costing them, but crucially, they will scrap again all the way up to Eau Rouge and Radion. Caracas is trying to show that he's got what it takes. Round the outside. Oh, this is brilliant. Now watch the run from Manson, who's going to get the best run of the four of them.
Yep, here comes Manson then onto the back of Caracas and Marco Bischoff. It is bump drafting. Here goes Caracas then trying to catch up onto the back end of Bischoff, but not quite going to happen here. So it's as you were. The only difference is as Boothby. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on through. Lecum jumps over the curbs there, gets away with an absolute worldie, and he's so very lucky not to throw that car into the barrier. But Boothby now immediately onto the back of this. That, for me, is one of the biggest points of this past 10 minutes here. Now, Boothby, you can't put anything past him. He might very well get a podium here.
He might do. He desperately will need it here. He will cede the championship lead, I believe, over to Amadeo Castorino. If it stays like this, it's a 5-point difference, by the way, 96 to 91 between second and third. And that means one thing and one thing only. It would be a 1-point championship lead for Amadeo Castorino as things stand, heading in through towards Watkins Glen. Off the road goes Jaroslav Honzik there. Was that contact with Schade that he managed to have just there? That's careful on the rejoin there. Very nearly taking out Santema there in the McLaren.
Yeah, that could have been very, very scary indeed. But either way, he did get back on. I think that might have actually been Addison that almost got clobbered there by Jaroslav Honzik. But either way, yeah, I've seen that again. We saw that earlier on with drivers feeling aggrieved as we get an incident involving car 8 and 18. That's 10-second penalty for car 18 for denying of racing room there. So that is for Lukas Schubeck. Lukas Schubeck gets one separately, but the 18 getting one as well. So that is, yeah, okay, that's an early one. Whoa, into the source. This is starting to get a little bit spicy here. So there we go. Bischoff has lost third position. Statsenko goes up into P3, but you get the feeling this is all going to revolve around the Kemmel Straight here. This is all going to be about the fireworks here. Up through Eau Rouge, then over the crest of the hill at Radion. Look at the four of them. You've got Statsenko, Bischoff, Caracas and Manson all want to have a go. There goes Marco Bischoff to the left hand side. There's the bump draft from Albin Manson. Side by side, nothing. Just let them go beside each other. Late onto the brakes there as Mikhail Statsenko holds in, keeps in too late into Lecum. Around the outside goes Marco Bischoff. This is going to end in absolute tears. You just know it. It's 3 wide coming down into the right hander here at Bruel. Marco Bischoff up the inside. Is he going to have it? He does. So Marco Bischoff back up into P3. Stasenko tries to hold it, but cannot do it. That is an unbelievable sequence of events there, Jake.
They were 2 wide, 3 deep going into that section. And now the Ferraris may turn on each other here with Stasenko pushed through on the lap ago by Manson. And now that lead to a perfect opportunity right now. Karekas has got to realise, what do I want here? With Manson, with Rosea, both there. And oh, in the background, championship leader turns Tommy Rosea around. George Boothby getting caught up in it, and the Frenchman finds himself a little bit red-faced back in 15.
Yep, Tommy Rosea is going to be ruining the day of that one as Boothby back down to P12 after that one. He has got Jaroslav Honzig right on his tail right now, and he's going to have to hope that that was not his fault, because Race Control, if that is the case, will be looking at that one. Hard fought fighting so far, as we've got about 15 minutes done of this race. I did say this was going to be one of the most important rounds of the championship, and I think that we're just starting to see how that actually might come to be there, as you've got all sorts of chaos. Tariq Adam involved in front there with Sakari Lehtinen fighting out the two Hondas almost side by side there. Great move up there by Marco Schade to get ahead of Tariq Adam. My goodness me, it has been completely breathless for the opening quarter of the race here. Maciek Malinowski still leads ahead of Amadeo Casarino. They're just 0.6 of a second separating those two. They've cleared off into the distance, 4.6 seconds ahead of Marco Bischoff. Then you've got Mikhail Stasenko and Grandes Caracas in the two-team Ferrari cars there, 4th and 5th place. Then you've got Albin Manson in 6th. And then you've got Philip Lobmeyer in 7th position, Sakari Lehtinen in 8th, Marco Schade in 9th, and Tariq Adam in 10th position. Oh my goodness me! I mean, I know we thought it was going to be a spicy race, Jake, but this is simmering over quite nicely here.
I would say this has been an aggressive start to racing, and it's a pack mentality style circuit. And if you think that this is great, just remember Watkins Glen is like this, but you turn up the gauge from 11 to 12. That's how good that this round end of the season is going to be. But here in 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, at this point in time, you're looking around at everybody else. You're thinking, where can I get a breather? Looks like the 5 cars been caught up in a little bit of something on the Kemmel straight there. So that's going to be troubles for them out there at the moment. So they're going to drop a ways back through the field. That's going to be something to keep in mind. Now, what we'll see a lap ago, and we're going to catch it here on the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship replay, is what George Boothby ends up with right now. All of the scrapping in front, and in fact, he takes attack from behind. And I think George Boothby here is going to get away with it, because he was a passenger to that accident right now. Of course, Watkins Glen next time out, it says go bowling. He went bowling into the Fania chicane.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was the bowling ball in that one, and yeah, that 100%. There was absolutely no blame for George Boothby in that one. Clipped by the Porsche behind. I think that was Lobmeyer in the number 12 car that went in the back of them. Again, you know, no malicious intent, but there will almost certainly be consequences as, oh dear. Right, okay, where do we even begin trying to unpick this one? Bischoff is now just ahead of Stasenko as he comes down to La Source on lap number 8. Is it going to be a dive up the inside? It is! It's a huge dive on the brakes there for Stasenko, but he's gone far too deep, and there goes Marco Bischoff again up the inside, and now that means that Grandes Caracas potentially going to have a run here. Now, the thing for them is the two Ferraris would be better working together, bump drafting each other coming up the Kemmel Straight here, but it doesn't look like they're able to do that just yet. Albin Manson just behind again with this whole run through the Kemmel Straight here. 4th, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th position here, and again they're not, but here comes the Ferrari, 3 wide down Italy comes, something's got to give, and that is going to be Grandes Caracas who decides he wants nothing of it. Are you kidding me? Right the outside for Mikhail Stasenko, one of the moves of the evening right there. Fantastic bravery on the brakes to hold it right round the outside, and that is going to be Bischoff done to rights on that one, but that is absolutely not the end of the tail there, Jake.
Well, you have to give a massive thank you there for Stasenko's move over to George Caracas, who found, to Grandes Caracas, who absolutely helped out there by trying to stick a nose down the inside. Marco Bischoff there was pretty much pigeonholed into the tightest little bit of circuit you could possibly imagine with that move. Nowhere to go, and having to be alert to a potential move on the inside to Statsenko on the outside. Statsenko would have had all the confidence in the world to go, I'm just going to sail it around the outside and make it stick. Nothing that Bischoff can do about it. Easy M finds himself looking back going, well, what happened?
Now here's the question, has that McLaren maybe got a little bit too much pressure in its tyres now? Are they running a little bit warm from the defence that he's had to be doing here? Because he did look like he's lost a tiny little bit of speed here to the Ferrari and the McLaren behind. I've got no doubt that that car will come back here, but here comes Grantas Caracas then in a 5th place Ferrari. Looks one way then the other, late on the brakes, but it's nothing more than a look. He has to watch out for Manson behind, as well as Lobmeyer in that Porsche. With 41 minutes left to go, we're going to very shortly come into our pit stop window, in which case the drivers can come into the pits for their mandatory pit stop here, as we've got another message from race control. The incident involving car 5 and 26 on lap 1, that is going to be a 15-second penalty for the number 5 car. That is Ronaldo Boersma, currently running in P30, so a 15-second penalty. Now, we didn't see that, but obviously 15 seconds on the harsher side of things, so that is going to be a fairly egregious incident, as here comes Marco Bischoff again onto that Ferrari. I did say that this wasn't going to be over yet, but I think Statsenko might have just have enough in the tank to hold off coming through Lecombe and Malmedy here.
You definitely get the sense that that Team Nitro McLaren has a way to fire along up the Kemmel Straight. So there really isn't much that Marco Bischoff needs to do except stay within range and really make something happen. Now here for the top 20 it's on as well, because you've got Moberg, you've got Poor, and you've got Jimmy Holm, who's there trying to find a way through. But Kai Poor is now trying to get himself an opportunity down the hill at Bruxelles, and just running that diamond line is often going to be a small little look to try and find a way to sneak on through. No chance of that happening there, but you get a sense that this is pack racing right now, and everyone's formed their 2, their 3, their 4 car pack, which is out there at the moment. Everywhere you look, there's something to go on, and there's Jaroslav Honček looking at the championship leader, who of course had that moment only a few laps ago where he was passenger to the accident.
Yeah, P12 is not a great place. That's only 63 points that he's going to take out of tonight's race if that's where he ends up. And realistically, it's not looking like pace-wise he's got it in the tank to get that. So we get another message from race control between car 8 and 77, and 77 is Jean Rochelle. We saw that instant going into double gouge there, and that's a 10-second penalty for car 8 for causing a collision. That is Lucas Schubeck, and I believe that car is already into pit lane, so he's done. Oh, there's chaos. That's the car they let in.
And then round at the final chicane, we're going to have a look at that, because there's a whole heap of everything. Try and work a way through. It looked like Caracas was the first driver who ran into troubles, so I think this might have happened right at the front, because the biggest loser in all of that was Caracas down to 7th, and then everybody else was just scrambling to avoid.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate place for that to happen as well, because it's such a slow part of the circuit. It makes it very, very difficult for cars to get rejoined. But we've had the pit stop window open now, so cars can come in and get their pit stop, as Abe Santima is the first one to do that. We've got our replay of that incident that happened then. Let's have a look here at what happened. So that's into the bus stop, and that is going to be Marco Bischoff then, and that's Grantas Caracas. So Caracas gets hit round, holds onto the right, okay, so 2 things there. One is Caracas didn't hold the brakes when going in, hit the side of the Honda, who just booted the power down, spun the car round and went straight into, I believe it might have been his teammate there. Not the finest moment there, Jake, for a lot of those drivers there.
I think there you get a real sense. We watch Abe Santana in, Jan Ruschel also in the pits. I think what you've got to realise in an incident like that is that it's in such slow speed sections like that. Drivers do have to have a time and an ability to try and save the car. If they feel like they've got enough grip to try and save it, then they should be allowed the opportunity to save it. The issue that you run into if you were Caracas in that situation is that you're trying to save it coming back onto the racing line. Very difficult to do, and do so neatly without affecting everybody else in the race. That's going to be where the trouble is. But you also have to say that Bischoff was pinching a little bit in the initial instant. He was over the curb, and then you had over the anti-cut curb there, Caracas. So I think Caracas can be very upset about the first part of the incident, but I think he's looking at himself at the second part, because he'd have been so intent on trying to make sure he wasn't caught up in any more issues, that everybody else doesn't try and jump in and rush about and get themselves in through. But look at the top 10 after all of that. It is looking like drivers are a little bit wounded, I would say superficially, on the front of their machinery at this point. Good news for Statsenko, he's now clear in third.
Yeah, exactly. He has got daylight between him and Marco Bischoff right now in the form of 2 seconds right now. So the 144 Ferrari is safely in third. This is on board with Paul Lobmeyer as he crests the hill at Radion on the back of Marco Bischoff. Then Bischoff going backwards at a rate of knots here, and you get the feeling this is going to be fairly easy. Okay, a little bit of bump drafting there from Lobmeyer, then decides to pull out. So I wonder if those two are maybe trying to work together to try and catch Statsenko here. That's, again, one of these things that we haven't really seen in the Kaizen Championship here, is these temporary alliances, maybe trying to do the smart thing and working together, as we see Jimmy Home here, the homing missile. I get worried every time, Jake, that we cut to him, because every time we cut to him, he's usually causing some sort of a carnage here. That's why they call him the homing missile.
Well, I would say that we're going to Watkins Glen next week, so we're intercontinental right now, and I think his temper's all right at the moment, so we don't have to worry. But at this point, you really are getting the sense that drivers are looking around for when is the right time for us to come in. Everybody likes a good half and half, so at 30 minutes, drivers traditionally like to come in, but you typically run heavier on your opening stint with the amount of fuel that's put in. So you're waiting for that car to go light so you can put the amount of fuel in that you need to get over to the end. And drivers will want to try and use as much light fuel as they can. So sometimes we will see drivers run a little bit later, but I find interesting the fact we haven't really had a chance to talk about those top two. Amadeo Castorino has been a Maciej Malinowski's shadow all race long. Little search into the mirrors, it's just that, a search in the mirrors. But
yeah, on that note as well, while he's deciding... Sorry about that, Jake. I was just about to say there, while what I was saying earlier hasn't really seemed to come across at all, Maciej Malinowski normally is able to just streak off into the sunset. He's not been allowed to do this by Castorino, and in all intents and purposes, I actually think that Castorino is maybe just trying to hold on to him here. Maybe Castorino has a little bit more pace here as we see Bischoff into pit lane.
Why would Amadeo, though, in this situation, David, look to sacrifice his fuel by being on the front and sacrifice his tyres trying to break away? I think he sat there with a purpose. He's got equal amount of pace, if not better, than Malinowski at this moment. I don't think he's got to do anything except to wait for 59 minutes through the race. He's only got to make one move to win this one, and that's what he's hoping for. Honchik now getting close here towards Boothby, not going to get the chance here up at Lake Coombe, and will be just playing the patience game at this point. If I was in this massive train right now from about 4th place, 5th, 6th, all the way back down to about 12th, I'd pit right now. I'd want to get out of trouble, get myself some clean air, and just realise that I will have all the speed getting up to pace when the next laps come around, when pit stops come into play.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what we've seen from the likes of Marco Bischoff, who, when he does come out, he is, as you said, going to be in completely clean air. The only cars that are going to be anywhere nearby is the likes of Ronaldo Stein and Abe Santema, who aren't really going to be much of a threat anyway. And, you know, it's that whole thing of when you're in a group, get yourself out of that danger, because they're likely going to be slowing you down anyway, as Roland Stein comes in with a slightly used looking Ferrari. Just a little bit of guff and Yeah, it's not the best, I'll be honest with you. Looking at the front of that Ferrari, as here comes Marco Bischoff. So he's going to have a whole clear track to himself. He's got no one to worry about just now. And Jake, this is the important time for Marco now, is the fact that he needs to make these laps count. He needs to absolutely... Oh, and that's Alexander Knighton. So Knighton has been spun round at the exit of Lafanya, and you get a feeling that that's either been contact or that's been off onto the grass on the right-hand side there.
It's not nice seeing Knighton turn around like that. It's very much a case of an awkward place to be turned around because you've got to wait for the pack to go through to turn around. Now, in comes Statsenko, in comes Lobmeyer, and in comes Addison as well to make a stop. So you got 3 in right now, 1 Porsche, 2 Ferraris making that choice. Everyone else staying out a little bit longer in terms of the runs that they're hoping for. This is going to be an important pit stop right now, because you'd sense that for Lobmeyer, he had to absolutely cover off the move done by Bischoff to dive into the pit. So it's that sense of everyone's going to start trying to cover everybody else off, and once one comes in, soon everyone's going to have to jump in, because they know that they can't wait forever right now in terms of this race.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Let's go and check out a replay then of some of the earlier incidents. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So this is Alexander Knighton. So it does look like this is an unassisted issue there. Yeah, you can see he's already lost a car, heavy into the car there, and he's very lucky not to collect anyone. But either way, that is a hard hit into the wall, and I've got a feeling that is going to be some severe damage to the front of that car there.
Yeah, that would pretty much write it off any single day of the week. There's Tobias Merberg out of the pits, and there is Knighton in there. The hood very much looking to open up, which would effectively be storage in machinery like that there. So the Ukrainian Cossacks racing car is going to look a little bit second-hand at this moment. Now, Paul Lobmeyer, I think, is going to be interesting here, because the stewards are still trying back up to what's happened in this race. There's been a lot going on in this race, so I would expect Lobmeyer might have to come in again over the course of this race. He's on a fantastic run at the moment, but out goes Mikhail Stetsenko. Now look out over the crest, see where everyone is. Lobmeyer, how close do you want to put it to those barriers?
Oh my goodness me, this is huge. As there is, as you said, Bischoff just ahead. So that is Bischoff ahead of Lobmeyer. So Lobmeyer's actually done a little bit of a jump there. So maybe coming in early might not have been the thing to do, because Lobmeyer was at least 2 cars behind him here. We'll get an idea as the rest of the cars come in and finish off. But there goes Albin Manson, Grantis Caracas, Tariq Adams in the pits. So is Tommy Rozier right now. But your race leaders still out there just now. Maciek Malinowski, Amadeo Casarino, and George Boothby now moves up to a provisional 3rd place. But again, that's only because he hasn't pitted just now. I think he would like to hope that is how it would all turn out at the end of this race. But we've done half of the race already here. 60 minutes at Spa, and well, to be honest with you, Jake, I think it's given us pretty much everything that we expect to get. We've had some great racing, some great overtaking, and some very, very aggressive driving as well.
And you got these two here at the front who are pushing each other to 100% at the moment. Maciej Malinowski and Amadeo Castorino are both on the limits at this moment in time, knowing that this might be the most crucial phase of the race. How good is your in-lap? How good is your pit stop? How good is your out-lap? That is what I would say is the most underrated factor on what makes great racing drivers great. You have just got to make it work. And I would say Amadeo Castorino, by fact of sticking behind Malinowski for this entire stint, might have a fuel advantage in comparison when it comes to the stop. Aston Martin versus the Porsche. It's going to be an interesting call when they decide to come in, because they've still got 9 minutes to decide whether they want to come in or not. But Amadeo here could make the leapfrog in the stops by matter of fact of needing to take a gallon, maybe, less fuel than others. Out comes Albin Manson then from the pit to get off and away again. And there is Statsenko, and he will be up to speed with warmer tyres, and he will be charging by that group and away and confirmed.
There we go then. Statsenko, though, losing a tiny bit of that gap, because remember, Statsenko was about 3 seconds ahead of Bischoff. So that's now down to half a second. So Bischoff now in with a shout, in with a sniff of catching up on that Ferrari, who we see usually takes about 3-4 laps to get the tyres up to speed. But there go your two race contenders into the pits. Maciek Malinowski and Amadeo Casarino into pit lane. So does Jaroslav Honzik. George Boothby stays out. Marco Schada goes in as well. So this is now crunch time. Sakari Lehtinen goes in, and it looks like Jonathan Clifford is potentially going to stay out, although he has got a little bit to go before he gets to that pit entry point just now as well. But my goodness me, this feels like a very, very strategic chess game that's going on right now, with lots of moving pieces, as there is Jean Rochelle trying to get past Jimmy Holm. Jimmy Holm has a little bit of a wiggle, and I think escorted out of that position very gently, but escorted nonetheless by Jean Rochelle.
Well, he's got every right to now be a ballistic homing missile at this moment. He will not be very happy with that at the moment, but look at this, out the pits. Malinowski actually into their boxes. This is where the race is going to be made here. Amadeo Castorino with the earlier box will be able to get up to speed. So it's now a case of how much do you want to react. George Boothby leads this race, but he will be due in for a stop. And you look at all the crackage there on the bodywork. My word, you'll need more than a couple panel beaters to try and get all of that pointed back out to pristine. George Boothby knows that this is a damage limitation race for him. How much will he lose in terms of what he needs in his championship effort here at Spa?
Absolutely fantastic point here. It's all about that recovery drive just now, but my eyes are absolutely fixated on the 992 and the number 23 that are in the pit lane just now. They get going as well, so it does look like Malinowski still comes out in front there, maybe with a little bit more of a gap than Casarino, but they come out ahead of Jaroslav Honzik. In fact, sorry, Statsenko, when it all is said and done. So that gap is still around about 8 to 10 seconds right now. Maybe a little bit less, maybe about 6 seconds when all is said and done. But the two race leaders coming out to the back of the number 22 car that is out there just now. That is Roland Stein. So as they go down into Les Combes, then you can see just behind that is that's going to be Tommy Rozier and Abe Santima. So what happened to Jardier then? It was a very slow exit out of pit lane there, because he's been immediately caught by Rozier and Santima. But either way, it's all about our boy George Boothby and what has happened to him, because he'll go into the pit stop now. I have a feeling, I just have a slight feeling, that he might be back out of the top 10 again, and possibly down into 11th or 12th position.
It wouldn't surprise me how far he might fall in terms of needing to make that stop. That's going to be big. There's Chris Hartfeld, for example, who's in 24th position. He's going to have himself a little bit of a battle in the middle out there with the likes of those behind at this moment. So that's going to be a case there for Hartfeld. He's moved up past Hache then for position, so that was nicely done. But yeah, George Boothby, I think, is going to fall back. Question's going to be how much, and it does depend on how aggressive he wants to take that pit exit, because as we know, it is so easy to lose time all the way up the Kemmel. You could be 2 seconds in front, leaving pit exit entirely, but you can lose all that time because you're not up to speed. You've got cold tyres. When you get yourself onto the brakes, cold brakes as well, when you reach up at Les Combes.
I just saw the number 22 of Roland Stein there bringing out the yellow flag at the final chicane, and what actually happened is he moved completely off track just to let your two race leaders or your two race fighters go through. Fantastic race awareness there, because of course that's definitely not a place you want to be catching some lap traffic there at. So very well done to Roland for doing that for our race, and the two of them getting their way through. Orange and Radion as well, they're already on the Kemmel straight, as this is George Boothby coming out of pit lane just now. Now where is he going to filter out here? Still very slow, so I think he's going to be a P10 potentially.
Oh, he's there.
No, he's there. Yeah. So he's let's have a look then. So he's 800. So he's behind the 19. Yeah. So P10. He's going to be
got 15
9.
seconds.
Sorry.
I think that would have been the stewards then issuing 15 seconds over to Lobmeyer, so that's going to help him a little bit more as well. So he's out in 9th, but of course 15 seconds for Lobmeyer. That's now going to put him in 8th place.
Yeah, that'll move Boothby up a couple of positions there. So incident involving car 12 and 800. So there's a little bit of indication there. 15 seconds for Lobmeyer for causing a collision. And my goodness me, race control haven't all earned their pennies tonight and earned their cup of tea, because there is a lot of stuff that they are still having to process, still having to go through at the moment. But I'm also seeing that where that was a half-second gap to Maciej Malinowski to Amadeo Casarino, now up to well over a second now. Is this going to be the time when Malinowski can pull the pin and get that up? But no, it does start to come back down again. So again, it does raise question marks of what is the actual true pace of Amadeo Casarino, and is he just edging up very, very slightly as again Roland Stein just moves completely off the circuit here to allow all of the lap traffic to get through here.
Well, it's 2/10 every time Amadeo Casarino goes through the middle sector of this circuit. That's where he's stronger than Malinowski. And if he can keep within a range of the slipstream and use the middle sector, he's got every chance of making this race work. Now that gap down to 0.8 of a second. Amadeo is hoping that he's got everything he wants. George Boothby, meanwhile, is trying to make some progress here, is now trying to find a way past Tariq Adams' position, which would be 8th place. But look at how those gaps are opening up. It is agonising watching it. It's all 0.8, 0.9 of a second, 2 seconds. It's not an easy jump place to place for George Boothby, and I think he's lampooned himself, stuck in 9th place, and he's going to need some help. Okay, Lobmeyer, okay, he'll get to 8th place, but still 8th place. He's still losing a fair bit in the championship, and he will need a magical Watkins Glen and Nürburgring to pull back the damage done here today.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree here. He's going to have a lot of points getting taken off him in terms of the championship run. I do wonder about Caracas. I'm kind of keeping an eye out for a penalty from race control potentially for that one. But here comes Jimmy Holm, the homing missile, back onto the tail end of Jan Rochelle. Is it going to be a little bit of revenge here after we saw that move into Bruel? Goes to the outside of Lecun. The Lambo tries to break around the outside. Is going to hold the inside line. Yeah, this is going to cause contact with the two of them. Yep, contact. More contact. Here comes the Ferrari just to make it even better. No way. This is going to be absolute death. I just know it. Absolutely know it. Holm tries to slow the car down around the outside, but that's Ferrari is going to have the inside line. But the Lambo tries to power it in here. This is absolutely unsettled business. Holm tries to fire up the inside. To be fair, coming around Speaker's Corner, he's got the run coming down into double gouge here. Who's going to break late here? Is it going to be the Ferrari on the outside? It's going to be the Lambo on the inside. Little nibble from Chris Hartfeld here. And this is all starting to get a little bit spicy. To be fair, that was an awesome, well-executed move there by the homing missile.
It's not going to be death, it's going to be amazing racing, and that was wonderfully done for 22nd position. Saying that though, after getting all the praise there for Jimmy Holm, he does run it off the circuit at Vanya, and that is going to open it up. Much different when you're in this place. Again, takes a little bit of gravel for a journey, and Chris Hartfeld had to check up actually, heading through Stavelo and the curve of Paul Frere. No chance of him finding an opportunity out there, because this is difficult and you need to pounce on drivers at the right time. And a lot of the corners around this circuit, in terms of using those public roads, attaching back to what used to be public road, it's not a natural jump back through, and sometimes it's a half straight, if that, and that's what made it difficult for Hartfeld to make the pounce heading over towards Stavelo corner.
Yeah, but they're all absolutely on it with the final 20 minutes left to go in this race. Everyone has completed their mandatory pit stop just now to go on board with Chris Hartfeld into La Source just now. Gap between the leaders is down to, what's that, just over 0.8 of a second for Maciej Malinowski and for Amadeo Casarino. So very, very little in between them at the moment. And again, with the gap between them being so small, you get the feeling that again, Casarino might just be biding his time here, might just be waiting very, very patiently, as we've got Noel Hatchey in the battle for 23rd and 24th position here. Hartfeld and Clifford is Hartfeld and Rochelle as well. Hatchey, yeah, that was a slightly late on the break, slightly optimistic move there coming into Lake Coombe. That was never going to work there. But then you can see fastest man on track, Amadeo Casarino. We're back with Tommy Rozier chasing down Luke Addison. You can see Jaroslav Honzig just in front of them as well. Here's we've got another yellow flag, and I think that is unfortunately us saying goodbye to Roland Stein. So that 22 car, who has been suffering with problems all through the night, has had decent pace in that car, but unfortunately has said goodbye to us tonight here.
Yeah, and on his racing without those going through, that's an incredibly wide line there by Addison, and that will open up the door for Tommy Rozier to find a way to try and make that move. It's covered off, so there's going to be no love lost between the teammates here, but this is where it's going to be tough. Where are you going to find the move? Door is left open there on the inside. There is a comfortable move down through, and look at this for the double up and under attempt, trying to get through. Drive for the Ferrari is going to be important, but Tommy's got what he wants, and that's the place. But there's a search, but just that in terms of the places for what is net 10th this moment in time. So that was for a net top 10, and the work there is Paul Lobmeyer with the 15 seconds added on that he will have to deal with, but he's still giving Bischoff a game out there at this moment.
Yeah, and again, we were seeing a little bit of bump drafting earlier on, but along the Kemmel Straight, is it going to be more bump drafting? Well, it's certainly not going to be an attempt of a move on to Bischoff here. Maybe thinking that he's a little bit too far back, but again, just over 15 minutes left to go here. That penalty alone is going to drop him, I believe, outside the top 20, given the spread of the cars there just now. But either way, fascinating race. It does look like Maciej Malinowski might have enough here to hold on. Casarino not able to bring it any closer than 0.7 of a second at the time of speaking. But again, we'll just have to wait and see how close that all is as they go through just now. But as we said, final quarter of an hour, round 9 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship Season 3 here, and this is really, this is really crunch time now. This is where you need to be making opportunities to get those points here, and more importantly, if you're at the top, not be losing points.
Yeah, points do in fact mean prizes, and you've got the opportunity to say, right, can I find this one position here, this one position there? You're in end game mode now if you're out there in this race. You are looking at everybody around you thinking, right, how do I gain that extra position, that extra points all? And you look at Amadeo Casarino, what tenacity he's had in this race. Malinowski has proven that he is electric in terms of how quickly he can rush around this track, but Amadeo has been the foil to him right now, and he will try and find his fandango if he wants to try and get this move sorted. But if he's gonna get it done, he's got to be within at least 0.3 of a second and poise and wait for the moment to strike.
Certainly do, and it's about whether you can actually strike, and I immediately take that back because that gap has gone to 0.6 of a second. So Casarino, you pointed this out all the way through this race here. Sector 2 is where he's really able to crush in that advantage of the Aston Martin over the Porsche. The Porsche also, for me, from what I notice, does tend to go through and overheat its tyres a little bit quicker than some of the other cars here. But again, you can see just how close they are come through into Lake Coombe here. And I do wonder if Casarino's time is now. If these next sort of 5-10 minutes here, this is go time. This is, if you've got anything left in the tank here, that's the opportunity for the Aston Martin to push. But again, as we're coming down the hill here towards through Speaker's Corner, again, it just seems to be a little bit hesitant on the exit of that corner, and that's what allows the Porsche just to eke away a little bit there, Jake.
It does, but Amadeo will realise he's not going to win the race here with 14 minutes to go. He can certainly lose it if he does something rash. He's just got to stay in rank. Malinowski here is for essentially 60 minutes, which is right now at 46 minutes of this race, has had Amadeo Casarino breathing down his neck, desperate to try and get rid of him at every single racing opportunity, and just hasn't at this moment. This is dealing with a pest at this moment in the form of Amadeo Casarino, and Malinowski here is looking for something really strong, and is looking to be the first driver this season, believe it or not here, David, to go back to back.
And that would be some achievement given how long this season had been. You'd honestly think that had been achieved by now, but it seems to have eluded all of the drivers here. Consistency hasn't been the forte of many drivers here, and those who have find themselves at the top of the title runnings just now. But Paul Lobmeyer still chasing down Marco Bischoff. Now he's going to have to watch out, because if he doesn't make a move soon, you get the feeling that Albin Manson might be wanting to try and make an opportunity here, because Bischoff is not catching on Statsenko. So really now Lobmeyer really needs to just pull the pin on this. He needs to get a move done. And yes, he's got that 15-second penalty, but if he can clear Bischoff and try and make a charge, he might be able to undo some of that damage and undo some of the positions that he is going to hemorrhage away at the end of this race here, which ironically is only 12.5 minutes here. But there we go, that's a very, very wide line for the Porsche there, coming up through Radion, right onto the back end of the McLaren here. And again, Jake still with the bump drafting.
Yeah, and that's quite interesting here with what the plan is for Lobmeyer. He realises that he's got 15 seconds, that gaining that place on Bischoff's not going to get him to do anything. So what he'll do is he'll try and go as quick as possible, and he believes the quickest way forward is by bumping Bischoff on the straight. There's one thing you got to remember here with Manson there just behind. He doesn't care if he gets past Lobmeyer or not. What he'll care about is, can I get past Bischoff? And that's what Manson wants against Marco Bischoff. He wants to get through Bischoff. Unfortunately, that means at the moment getting through Lobmeyer. And Lobmeyer, in this scenario, really shouldn't be too much of an implement in the way, but he's a racing driver, which means he's got every right to fight for it.
No, exactly, and it's not over until that checkered flag actually flies here, and this is what is at stake. Crucial points, and more crucially, bragging rights for these drivers here tonight at Spa. Of course, just 3 rounds remain in the championship. We're off to Watkins Glen next week, and then we are off to Nürburgring Nordschleife, which will be just a test beyond all tests for all of the drivers. We voyage into the unknown. It's a brand new track for the championship and for many of the drivers as well here, and doing a 90-minute race at the Green Hell, I think, will really separate the wheat from the chaff. Just over 10 minutes left to go in this 9th round of the championship here. Maciek Malinowski still leads Amadeo Castorino by 9/10 of a second, then around about 6 to 8 seconds back. You have 8.3 now is the gap. Mikhail Statsenko in 3rd position, Marco Bischoff in 4th. It's then Paul Lobmeyer in 5th position here, with Alpin Manson closely in tow in 6th, Grandis Caracas in 7th, Tariq Adam in 8th, with George Bithby in that top 10 in 9th position, and Jaroslav Honzik rounding out your top 10 here, Jake.
Yeah, so you're really getting a sense now that this is not necessarily tapered as Lobmeyer again takes that aggressive line up over the top, but you get the sense that everyone's focusing now on waiting for that chance to make a move. Once more, Lobmeyer pushes and pushes and pushes, and it's working in terms of keeping Manson at bay at 8/10 of a second. What happens when that communication between those two break down? That's going to be the next cause of concern that's going to be there. And you've also got to look in the background at George Boothby, because he still has Tariq Adam, but he also has George Caracas that he can focus on. So I would say 6th place isn't outside of the possibility for where George Boothby might finish, and he would probably take 6th place out today.
I can't disagree with you on that one. I think that would be a fairly okay recovery drive. For me, for where Boothby was after that collision with Lobmeyer, it could have been so much worse there. He did the recovery drive and got himself back into the top 10 there. So P8, it could have been much worse. He could have been outside the top 10. He could have even not actually scored any points at all here from this race here. That would have been very difficult, but you know, like I say, it could have been much worse. I think that's the key thing here. Is Lobmeyer actually going to be able to do anything on that McLaren front? So we cut back to Chris Hartfeld. This is the battle just outside the top 20, which is it's fairly settled, because Kai Paul in the 258 BMW, he's now 3.2 seconds behind Eric Muxka, but also about 3.6 seconds ahead of Tobias Moberg in the number 7 McLaren. So he's safely in that top 20. Meanwhile, this little fight here just now between Hartfeld and Moberg is It's plodding along quite nicely, and the thing is that although it sounds like, oh well, it's only P21 and 22, these two will still be absolutely going for it. Make no mistake about it, they will still absolutely be going toe to toe. The other thing is, for me, is George Boothby. He's only 0.6 of a second behind Tariq Adam. He could be having a look here as the Ferrari tries to have a look on the outside of Moberg. It gets the cutback, won't get the cutback again though, because that McLaren on the inside blocks it off. But to be fair, I think the Ferrari might have the run down to the source here.
Even with a tiny little bit of contact too, which I think is quite understated here, how much Hartveld is really trying to open up this move down here in 21st position that he's trying to get. Not getting the chance then perfectly, descending down the hill over towards Eau Rouge, the Red River, and up the hill, now through Radion, and the left now that leads to the small kink right onto the Camel Straight, and up the hill, still continuing that rise. One of the biggest rises out there in the world, the big dummy move to the left-hand side. There's a reason why this track is sometimes involved in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, one of the great cycling classics out there of the Triple Crown, but there is nothing there for Chris Hartveld. He has to wait, and with 7 minutes to go down here, there's still something on, but the top 10 is still incredibly there. You can't get much closer than that.
Yeah, he's trying as much as he possibly can as Chris Hartveld, and there's absolutely no room at the end here at all, as Albin Manson now chasing down Paul Lobmeyer. So this little battle has changed completely, because Lobmeyer was all over the back of Bischoff. You get a feeling that something has happened to that Porsche here, and also it's a three-way fight for 7th, 8th and 9th as well. Karakas, Adam and Boothby, so that could all be changing as well. But at the front, it does look like that is a fairly healthy lead there for Malinowski. 0.8 of a second. Here comes Malinson though through Blanchimont to the outside of the final chicane there. The Porsche goes deep on the brakes, and again Manson trying to pull that car right inside. There is George Boothby as well. He would be happy to get a position or two here. He does have, as you said, a chance to get 6th position once all is said and done here, because Lobmeyer is trying to keep on to this position here, but realistically he needs to focus on just setting the lap times and keeping the pace up, rather than whether he loses that position. It's it's penny wise pound foolish at this point for Paul Lobmeyer, with that 15 seconds penalty holding over him, and with the gap going up for the lead to 1.2 seconds now with 5.5 minutes left to go. It's very difficult to see if there is a way to take this win for Castorino.
This has just been death by paper cut for Amadeo Castorino here. He has been right on the limit, right on the limit, right on the limit, and when he needs to find the pace the most, Malinowski just turns the crank one more revolution, and there's not much that Amadeo can do about it. You've still got Albin Manson here in 6th position, really trying his best to get away around Lobmeyer, to hope there's a way to Bischoff, but Old Father Time is starting to knock on the door here. We're down to 3 laps to go right now, 2.5 even at this point. So you get a sense that it's going to be rather close in terms of between now and the end of this race, whether we will get 2 or we will get 3 from here on out. But what we will sense is that they are running low on time, and so moves that right now are unresolved need resolving.
They certainly do. And another thing needs resolving is our driver of the day poll over on YouTube. 4 drivers up for selection. Who is your choice? Vote now. Maciej Malinowski, Amadeo Castorino, Mikhail Statsenko or Marco Bischoff. Those are the 4 drivers eligible for today's driver of the day vote. Remember as well, you at home can get yourself in with a chance of winning a $10 Steam voucher. Simply type the word SPA in chat, in YouTube chat, and you will get yourself entered into our lucky wheel giveaway at the end. As here comes George Boothby with a look onto Tariq Adam. Thinks better of it again, just trying to make this work here, and you get the feeling that this could be easy pickings for George Boothby right now. Tariq Adam now driving more in his mirrors than he is on the roads in front of him, because Grandes Caracas now starting to stretch away a little bit in the front. as is Malinowski right now. 1.3 is the gap, so that has now gone up just another tenth of a second, and with 3.5 minutes left to go, unless there's a mistake involved, that is a very good position for Malinowski to be in. However, praise be to Amateo Castorino where it's due. That has been an exceptionally close fight, and Castorino has held Malinowski's ankles to the flame throughout the entire race today, and that wasn't something that we saw last time out at Monza. But Boothby still chasing down this 8th and 7th position here just now. It will bump up of obviously an extra position with Paul Lobmeyer, with 3 minutes left to go in this race here, and you get the feeling that it's a pressure cooker waiting to explode at this point here, Jake.
George's problem here is that he's got Grantas Caracas, who is just that linchpin to what Tariq Adams' defence is. Nothing you can do about that. Jaroslav Honzik has, of course, Tommy Razia just behind, hoping for position there to move into what is 10th on the road, which will be 9th when the checkered flag is all said and done. But you get the sense for George Boothby that were it not for Caracas right now, he'd be long clear of Tariq Adam at this point. But everywhere you look inside the top 15, there's a battle everywhere to be had.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what we're going to be here for the next 2 and a bit minutes to enjoy and to feast over, because it has been a feast so far. We have had a brilliant round of the championship here, and I think a lot of scores to be settled going into Watkins Glen next week. Certainly you're not going to want to miss it, as Abe Santima goes a little bit wide coming through campus and then coming through into to Stavolo as well. But either way, what a race this has been. Back to that fight for Paul Lobmeyer. Now the accordion goes back the other way, and Marco Bischoff coming back under pressure. I honestly feel here, as we're about to go on to our final lap of the race here, this could honestly close up a little bit, and I wonder if Caracas might get brought into this little fight, and I wonder if Lobmeyer is now actually going to pull the pin here, because there's nothing to gain by staying behind Marco Bischoff, I would have thought, Jake, and I would have thought maybe just actually get that position.
Well, it's the last great chance that he's going to get here if he wants to try and make this move. He's going to have to look. It's left or right. He pushes, and he didn't really have a choice there. He didn't want to lift on the straight, and he knew the moment that he did, he wasn't going to get this chance here into Lake Coombe. And again, he will just have to sit back. He will just have to watch and wait. But that's deep there from Bischoff, who is being hounded at this point. No chance again for George Boothby here. No chance there for Tommy Razia either. No chance for Abe Santema to make the moves either. Everywhere you've looked on this final lap, nobody has been able to find a way through, but maybe one homing missile might have a chance up on the straight with Moberg. Look at this for a bit of side-by-side, trying to get a stranglehold in terms of one extra position. Long ways trying to go for it, just going to get pinched on the inside. Well defended.
Yeah, that was very well respected from both of those drivers here, but we have to turn our attention to this man here with 8 seconds left on the clock. The final lap of the race here. The season draws to its close in the next couple of weeks, and this could be a decisive moment, a decisive chapter in the story of the season. Maciej Malinowski comes through Blanchimont for the final time, and it's been a wonderful lights to flag victory for Malinowski ahead of Amateo Castorino. But through the final chicane, it's back-to-back wins for Maciej Malinowski for Veloce across the line in the Porsche. Second place is going to be Amateo Castorino, a well-deserved second place, and Lobmeyer might end up losing this position or getting the position from the McLaren here. Remember, a 15-second penalty, and
Boothby
somehow takes, and Boothby, yep, absolutely spot on, up to P8 ahead of Tariq Adam. That's going to be P7 overall there. So that is going to be then Lobmeyer in P4, Bischoff in P5, and chaos at the final corner. Santima spun round, tries to avoid everything that's going on here, tries to rejoin there. A chaotic end to the race here. Bischoff in 5th position, Manson in 6th, Caracas in 7th, Boothby in 8th, Tariq Adam in 9th, Jaroslav Honzik rounding out your top 10. But of course those bottom 4 cars are going to be put up one position. My goodness me, Jake, what a crazy end to this race here.
Just want to notice there, going over the line, that Shada very much redressed that position over to Santema. So I think those two came together, and Shada redressed the position before the line so that he wouldn't get penalised for it. He would drop 8 places for it, but still got there. But that is as glorious as you could possibly ask for out of a race here at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. And you put the crazy races in next with Watkins Glen. Bring it on.
Yep, absolutely fantastic stuff there. Confirmation of your podium then. Maciek Malinowski takes the race win back-to-back after winning last time out at Monza. It's Amadeo Casarino in P2 and then Mikhail Statsenko rounding out your top 3. And I think a very, very happy 3 drivers that we'll get in very, very shortly to have a chat with us. And I think a very, very happy Maciek Malinowski, who also wins our driver of the day. So we'll tell him that to his face when he pops in for a chat with us very shortly. But, you know, looking at what we've just seen here, I cannot think that you'll have any of the drivers in that top 10, with the apart of Paul there, who get that 15-second penalty. Any of the drivers who'll be unhappy with that. Especially Amadeo Casarino, where not only was that back-to-back wins for Maciek, but that's back-to-back second places for Amadeo Casarino.
He won't shake a stick at that, because he will know that he's still got the championship lead. Obviously, he's got to find a way to win at least one race over Maciej Malinowski here at this moment in time, Dave. But, you know, you sit down, you look at it, and you say, Amadeo, he's done everything he needs to. He's championship leader with 2 to go.
Yep, he certainly has. Let's bring in your race winner then, Maciek Malinowski. Congratulations, another win, another driver of the day. Vote for yourself. That was a hard one today, though. Obviously being held to account by Amadeo Casarino there.
Yeah, just really fun race, because we both had really good race pace. We both qualified really well. And I briefly spoke to Amadeo a second ago in the waiting for interview channel, so he was also saying like just an hour of qualifying laps, and that was basically that. We pushed for an entire hour, but it's a great track to do that on, because Spa is just so good to drive in this game. And I had a really good setup for the Porsche. The weather was such that I didn't have to care about. I still had to control the tire wear, but it's not like I was screwed by their temperature, because we had a little bit colder weather in the evening. So yeah, just super enjoyable race, because this track is so amazing. So to just get an hour of us two right behind each other, just qualifying laps for an hour, it's super enjoyable.
And obviously the balance of performance, Porsche, again, not the one that we would have imagined at the top there. McLaren and the Ferrari very strong here, but you absolutely sent it through. And for the most part there, it was a class of 2, because the 2 of you were leaps and bounds above everybody else tonight.
Ferrari and McLaren have really, are the kind of car that you definitely go for when looking what are their strengths. But surprisingly, Porsche, you can set it up in a way that it behaves similarly to those cars on this kind of track, where it really has crazy first sector and really good straight line speed. So that just helped me focus on myself, because I knew that I'm not gonna be under threat from Amadeo, because we are pushing so hard and our second sector is so fast that there he doesn't really have any chances. And then I have great acceleration, and the car goes all the way to the top end on low wing. So then he doesn't even get any chances into the braking zones. And maybe if he would be super close, there could be something in the bus stop. But I was just too fast for that to happen. And my turn 1, that car just is a rocket out of turn 1 on acceleration compared to the Aston. So he had nothing to say about that at the end of Camel Straight, because I was just so far ahead. The car here has really good bop and great strengths to defend.
And obviously, one other point here, using my very, very flawed mathematical skills here, Maciek, that actually moves you up to P2 in the championship, just behind Amadeo by around about 7 points here.
It's really
with
close.
2 rounds left to go. I mean, this is nail-biting stuff here.
Yeah, I knew that Monza and Spa are gonna be strong for me, because I like how the Porsche drives on those tracks. and I knew that the BOP that we have, it's not necessarily favor the car, maybe a little bit, but I know that I have a competitive car that I can do something with, and I'm comfortable that I can deliver a certain pace that will bring me those results, and it did. The last two tracks, I'm really worried about those. So, still being behind Amadeo, it's gonna be very difficult to pull that around because I think he's gonna be very strong on the last two rounds, and I'm expecting myself to struggle there because I have little experience at Watkins Glen, and then at Nordschleife, this car in particular, it will be just a pain in the ass to set up and perform competitively, right? And Aston Martin, I just know from experience, there's been tons of races at Nordschleife and ACC already, and you know that the Aston just performs. But the Porsche is just super difficult there to make it drive in a consistent way. Like for example here or at Monza a week ago, where I'm just so confident in the car, I can push to the limit the whole time. At Nordschleife, that's not gonna be the case. And Watkins Glen is gonna be a tough race for me as well, especially with the tire wear because it's again hot. So it's gonna be super exciting, very difficult. I'll definitely give it a go. Let's see.
Excellent stuff. Well, also, just to round out, again, you taking driver of the day at 70% of the votes.
Thank you very
obviously
much.
doing something well with the viewers at home.
Yeah, it's always nice to see an old car in the grid because we only had two Porsches out there. You usually don't see those cars perform on majority of the occasions. So getting some of those great results in the Porsche. Always nice to see, so really glad that viewers also enjoyed it.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Well, listen, another fantastic win brings us to a nail-biting end to the season. Congratulations, Maciek, and we'll see you next time out at Watkins Glen.
Thank you very much. See you guys there. Good night.
Excellent stuff. Maciek Malinowski, your driver of the day and race winner. And Jake, I believe that you've got Amadeo Casarino that you're away to have a chat with.
I do. Amadeo, that was a race for you where for 56 minutes of the 60-minute race that we had, it was as close as it could possibly be. Between you and Machier, it was a case of one of you was going to have to brake, and unfortunately it was you that fell behind by a little bit. Just talk us through how tough of a race that was to constantly throw everything at the wall and have no answer.
Yeah, basically was 1 hour of full quali. Like I push every lap as much as I can especially in the second stint, for take his slipstream again, because after the pit I lost like 1 second because the Aston is really bad on pit exit. So I was trying to pushing a lot for back on the slipstream. And I just need, I think, only 1/10 more for take the slipstream again, because in some laps I was like at 7/10. But from that moment we made like 4 laps in basically the same lap. So just need a bit more, but also if I get in his slipstream I need that he made some mistake, because without a mistake it was impossible to overtake him. Like in the main straight there is no way, because after turn 1 the Porsche gained 2/10 to me because of crazy traction. And the only overtaking spot for me probably was the back straight on the bus stop chicane, but I was never close enough for try and overtake, also because the Porsche can brake really later than the Aston. So yeah, at the end P2 is good also because Butby had a bad race, so I gained a lot of points on him, but also Malinowski gained on me, so the battle is still close for the championship.
So you walk out of today now, it's your 5th podium, you've had 2 victories, 2 seconds and that a third. You talk about how consistent you have to be on the top of this championship. For you to hold a slim championship lead, the issues with George Boothby today aside, how confident are you of converting this position you have right now to a championship?
Well, I hope to continue to do other races like that, because this is the case, but it's so easy because like if the next race can happen literally the opposite, maybe would we win the race, I finish like P5, P6, and then we are exactly in the same situation as before. So like, yeah, I gained a bit of points there, but like I have to push a lot. I can't manage on the last 2 races, and especially last race will be pretty tough because Nordschleife is a pretty complicated track. So we'll see what will happen in the next race, but will be really hard because everything can still happen.
You're 5 points to the good. It's Watkins Glen next time out. Very similar in terms of how you've got to approach it compared to the circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. Is this just a case of evolving in terms of the setup and the development over the course of this week to attack the next opportunity which comes along in America?
Well, yeah, also, for something, it's a bit different, Watkins, because for sure you need a bit more, like, load on the rear of the car. And yeah, will be also a pretty hard track because we have the bus stop chicane where if you take it bad, like, you can pretty much lose your car and go into the wall and the race is over. So we'll see. It's another complicated track for setup because also Spa is pretty complicated for setup and Watkins will be again complicated. So will be tough.
Well, you've got the championship lead, at least for the time being here. Amadeo Castorino, second place here today. Is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Thank you to my new team, the Coach Dave Academy. So we need a good start for first race in this championship. And yeah, that's all.
Well, there you have it. Amadeo Castorino, who moves into the championship lead here with this one, and a fantastic result with David Christie. Now, I believe you've managed to walk down the paddock and find Mikhail Statsenko.
Yeah, Mikhail's with us just now. Mikhail, congratulations. A third place for yourself there. Obviously, it was chaotic early on there, but for the second half of the race, you were kind of just left to your own devices in third.
Yeah. I mean, at the beginning, there was a lot of chaos because of the car difference. McLaren is way quicker on the main straight, but it's somehow slower on the back straight. So we were catching them every time, and then they were catching us. So we had back and forth battles. But then for the second half, I managed to get ahead of Marco and was kind of just chilling. I had no other choice. I couldn't really push more because there was no more time in the car and you're just basically enjoying the track.
And obviously before that, your teammate Grantis Caracas there was struggling to get past Marco. The two of them were fighting. You saw the opportunity, fired yourself through, and then after that point, there was no real looking back, was there? Because within 2 laps, you're already around about 2 seconds ahead of the pair of them there.
Yeah, Grantas, I think he wasn't that decisive at the beginning, maybe. So, I mean, I think he could have been more decisive, but he was just trying to not get a penalty or not get involved into an incident. So, that's, I mean, good job on that. And he let me go, let me try, and it worked as well. So, yeah.
No,
teamwork there.
I was just waiting to say, now obviously the last 2 races you didn't start with us, some crucial points to get yourself up into the top 5 for the standings as well. We've got 2 races left to go. What's your thoughts on Watkins Glen and then the big bad Nordschleife to round things off?
I'm not sure I'll be available for those. I'll try to be available for Nordschleife. Watkins, not my favorite track, but Ferrari should be really good there. Nordschleife, I've never driven it in a race. So that's why I think I will need to come and try and get some more experience here in this series. So, yeah, we'll see.
Holy moly, that is going to be a baptism of fire, Mikhail. Congratulations on the third place. Is there anybody you'd like to thank tonight?
I mean, obviously my team for helping me with the setup and providing you know what I mean. I'm just very thankful to be there.
Well, I'm sure they're thankful to have you under their wing as well, Mikhail. Congratulations on the third in the championship, and I can't wait to see you back out at the Nordschleife.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent stuff. So there we go. That is our driver interviews done and dusted. And now it gets time to hand over to the Wheel of Fortune. The first one that we're doing is going to be our driver participation giveaway, where they get a 1-month subscription to Coach Dave Delta. So all the drivers that you can see there finishing on the lead lap there. So let's give it a spin and see who gets the subscription this time by. Let's have a look. Who do we think it's? Is it going to be Boothby? No. Is it Abe Santima? It's Abe Santima. Yeah, that's who it is. So congratulations, Abe. That is going to be a 1 month subscription on its way to yourself. And then just a couple of moments' time, we'll have our viewer participation giveaway. That was where you had to type in SPA into the chat. Don't type it in now because you've already been told that it's closed, so you won't be entered into it. And that is for a $10 Steam voucher that you can use on anything of your choice, whether you want to get DLC for your favourite game or whether you want to go and get some new game in whatever sale is on. Let's have a look at the wheel then. So we've got about, 12, 15 names on there just now. So let's spin that wheel and let's see who gets this week's $10 Steam voucher. Huge thank you for watching tonight. Farida Adam. Well, that's a surprise. Congratulations, Farida. Well done. Thanks very much for coming and supporting Tariq. Great to see that. So that $10 Steam voucher will be on its way to you. But Jake, thank you so much for coming and joining us here tonight. What's your thoughts on the championship?
It couldn't be much closer, and you've got some amazing drivers up there at the top, giving absolutely everything. It was an absolute sprint for those two up at the top in Malinovsky and, of course, with Amadeo Castorino as well. But you've got to get yourself tuned into Watkins Glen, because if you thought this was a little bit crazy and hectic, just you wait till you go bowling in upstate New York. That is going to be a circuit which is going to provide fireworks if you haven't seen the amazing fireworks this season has brought you already.
The 90 is going to claim some hopes and dreams of some of the cars. We've got 2 rounds left to go in the championship. Watkins Glen up next week, and then we go off to the Nürburgring Nordschleife in 2 weeks' time. But all that's left to say is a huge thank you to Jake Sperry, joining myself, David Christie here in the commentary box here for round 10 of the Genisus Risk Kaizen Championship. A huge thank you as well to Daniel Costello in the background, providing all the awesome video and sound. And a huge thank you to all of you at home for watching as well. Join us next week where we get a step closer to deciding who's the champion. Until then, take care and have a safe week. The engines roar in the background, the sun begins to set, the green flag flies, and we are racing here in very, very sketchy indeed contact, and there goes Valentin Barrier. Oh, the leader's lost it. Noah Ader loses it into the gravel at the final corner, loses the lead. That's an amazing bit of work there from Luke Addison.
The inside we have three abreast heading into Brual.
It's been lights to flag victory for George Bidby. He's done everything that's been required. It's looked so bloody easy yet again.